Sup, nerd? Mingalama, and welcome back to another episode of SupCast. Here with me, Adam from Sup Nerd. I'm the comics and movie head nerd, they call it here. And then we have a special guest. I mean, the guests are always special, but this time he's a really special guest joining us for this episode. It's none other than my very good friend, Jared Tay. Hey, Jared.
Sup, nerd?
Right on cue. I love this. So Jared's actually, would you consider yourself as a filmmaker, a producer? You run a production house, like motion graphics. Tell us what you do.
Well, I won't really call myself like film director or anything like that. I've never really done stuff like that. So what I do, or what I printed on myself on the name card is creative director. But it's a whole mishmash of stuff, right? Got motion graphics, 3D, VFX, animation, do like production videos and stuff like that. So the whole lot of stuff that I've been doing over the past 18 years.
18? So, you're showing your age.
I know. That's why like the face settings on this one is put to like
you got a filter on?
Yeah. Not really.
And I love your company's name ever since I heard it. Color TV. What was the reference for that again?
Dire Straits song.
Nice.
Money, there you go. Money for nothing.
And of course, Jared is also a lifelong comic geek and nerd because he can draw as well. But more importantly, he is one of the few people that I know that have seen the entire series of Peacemaker, which is what we're going to talk about today. And Jared, let's get right into this and say, like, who saw this coming? Did you expect that there was going to be a Peacemaker series or anything like that?
Wow. I think no one actually saw that coming. And at the same time, I don't think anyone should be surprised because it's James Gunn, right? He scrapes the bottom of the barrel for like all the E and F G-list characters to show up. Like Guardians of the Galaxy. That's where the G is from. Like, everybody in the MCU movie, they're not even in the original Guardians of the Galaxy comics, except for Yondu, who was actually one of the main
OGs, characters, right?
Yeah. So, when GOTG was first announced, no one really paid attention. Everyone was like, me included, I was like trying to figure out how will this work, right? You've got Thor, Cap, Iron Man, people that no one really paid attention to in the 90s because X-Men and Spider-Man were ruling that time. The Avengers comic wasn't even selling, right? So when Guardians was announced, it's kind of like a big surprise. And after James went on to Suicide Squad, like I said, it should be no surprise, but stuff like that still shows up. Characters like that still pop up. I mean, I thought it was kind of cool already when Charlize Theron had Aeon Flux. Back in the day, right?
Oh my God, that's like it is a deep cut, right?
Yeah, it wasn't a great film. It wasn't a great movie for Aeon Flux, but at that time I was like a very huge fan of Peter Chung, the original animation, and then it's like oh, there's an Aeon Flux movie. It's like wow, and then we got all the mainstream stuff, and then kind of like we're all kind of like taken aback now.
So you mentioned about you mentioned about Suicide Squad, and let's do like a quick comparison for like 2021's The Suicide Squad and was it 2016? Was it 2016? Right?
I want to say no, but okay.
It's the original Suicide Squad by David Ayer, which is, I personally feel that it's like the worst DC film, like DCEU film ever. So let's do a quick comparison.
Right.
Like how did you find the James Gunn one, and how much did you like enjoy it?
Okay, James Gunn one. He was right to say from the get-go, don't get too attached. Right? The first scene when they all went in Nam style, everyone was like literally falling apart, including Nathan Fillion, right?
Because he used like big name actors, that like Pete Davidson and all that. So we thought that at least they could be in there for
at least Captain 20%. Boomerang would have stuck around.
Captain Boomerang, right? We he's there, but nope.
Nope. There you go.
That was great, and I think it was like a really it's a fresh take on the Suicide Squad itself, because we were kind of like scarred by the David Ayer version, and we were like, oh my god, this is horrible. Do we really need another one? Jared Leto Joker. That's a whole different topic for a whole different episode of SupCast. It's crazy. So for the Suicide Squad, I really enjoyed it, but to be honest, right, it's not that super special, but you can see the whole James Gunn's vibe. Like he's such a great director, putting all these weirdos together and making it work. And I love the fact that with DC for the Suicide Squad, they let him go with the R-rated stuff. Which is like
he pretty much got free reign. He pretty much got free reign on that, right?
Yeah, and all the characters he wanted, he got as well.
Yeah, but it's not a long shot, because if you look at the premise of how it was in the comics, it really is a revolving door of supervillains,
right? Based on the comics,
being drafted by Amanda Waller to be part of Task Force X, right? So you shouldn't be really too surprised, because it's a franchise. It's like part 1, part 2. You expect like the same characters to at least stick around a little bit. But I guess if you go back to how it really was or how it really is, you really get, in the old issues, like every couple of months they switch up the cast. So no, it shouldn't be, like I said again, it shouldn't be actually a surprise to some people, but
to be really honest, right? Like I personally am not even familiar with most of the characters in the Suicide Squad, where when you talk about like Bloodsport, I'm like, huh? Peacemaker also was a character where like I'm not familiar. Were you familiar with him? Like, do you know about him?
I've seen Peacemaker before, right, in the 80s.
In the 80s, going way back.
Yeah, going way back. Showing my age again. I've seen the character, but I never knew who he was. I thought because of the helmet and the color scheme, I thought it was some Earth version of Orion from New Gods.
Oh my god, yeah, right? That's a great comparison. He does look like Orion's helmet, right? That thing with the coat. Okay.
Yeah. So the only original member of this old Suicide Squad that I was used to was Captain Boomerang, who was this, like, at the time he was like a chain smoking boomerang guy with like a hat. So that was like the Suicide Squad that I was used to, with Bronze Tiger and Vixen, all those Deadshot also, when he was white. Right? I don't know. Can you see that?
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Okay.
It was one of the comics. It's fine.
Yeah,
you know.
Check the publication history. So that was my introduction, right? I think that was in about 1987, 1988. There was an ad. It was like one of those one-page ads in the comic that I had for Suicide Squad. So they were in there, and that's how I got to know them. But I had no idea about who Peacemaker was. Like I said, I thought he was just Orion on Earth or something.
Until John Cena stepped into the gigantic shoes. You can't see him. Okay. Were you surprised? We're not talking about the series yet. I'm talking about the movie. What was your take on it? Like, John Cena being Peacemaker?
Wow. Okay. I think he did a really good job as the whole movie unfolded.
Right.
You really could see that he was doing more drama as an actor, right? Because I guess for me, my first experience seeing John Cena in a movie was in Bumblebee, and it was kind of like a one-dimensional thing.
Typical wrestler,
action hero
actor,
guy,
right? Because you have that army dude.
yeah, exactly. And then when he went on Suicide Squad, he had that comedic timing.
He is so good at that, right? I mean, he was doing some comedy movies like Cock Blockers, and there's just like this horrible firefighter comedy with like Key from Key and Peele, with like horrible like PG rated like jokes that just don't stick. So I know that he was trying to do comedy, but I was pleasantly surprised by the way he approached like the character of the Peacemaker in the movie. Which like he got the violence and the craziness with deadpan humor. It just, he was in his like tiny whiteys in one scene as well, just standing there.
Like he doesn't really care.
Yeah, right? He's really he bought into the character.
Yeah, it's like it's like the characters here was like, I'm here to do my job because I love my country. I kill every man, woman, and child for peace. Right? I don't care what happens. I'm just here to,
He would suck a beach full of dicks if he has to keep peace.
Yeah, he did say that.
I love the lines. And okay, so this is where let's start talking about the series. So I heard that in the movie, Gunn let these guys go off. I mean, he has a script, and then they try to shoot like how it was written in the script. And once he got it, he asked them to just like, okay, let's go improv. Do what you guys want to do. And I heard that Cena was the best out of the whole bunch, where all his like expert takes they ended up using in the film itself. So James Gunn, okay, this is another thing that I heard. He did not plan for this series. It was like he did Suicide Squad, the movie. Cena, I mean, spoilers now. Peacemaker supposedly died, got shot in the throat, right, by Bloodshot. And we thought, okay, that's the end of it, right? And everybody was surprised again, like when they announced that, oh, Peacemaker is a series is coming. So
hang on, wait, he was shot in the throat, but that was after the fight.
After was because of the pandemic and all, they kind of like pushed back the release date. And during that time, what happened was Gunn said this in an interview. He was bored, so he just sat down
the episodes, right?
Yeah, within 2 months, all 8 episodes, he just wrote it down. He's like, "We got something here," and he called Cena and he spoke to him, saying like, "Hey, we're gonna do a show." And Cena was like, "Cool." Thought I died. He's like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We'll fix it in post, which is like a post-credit scene. And they showed that, oh, he's still alive. And that's how the series came about. Okay, let's talk about the series straight up. Wow, what a series, man. Dude, I was blown away by this series. I wasn't expecting it. Kind of like cautiously optimistic after I saw the first trailer. And then saw the first 3 episodes. Okay, let's talk about the first 3 episodes. What was your initial take when you watched the first 3?
All right, I went in dry because I totally held out.
Dry. You held out.
Yeah, I held out on the trailer, right? So because I had no idea who Peacemaker was, like they already established that. I had no idea about his backstory. I didn't really want to read up on it. The only exposure was to the Suicide Squad.
And the movie The Suicide Squad.
Yeah. So I didn't know how this was going to play out. I didn't know his characterization, how it was going to be explored, who the cast members were. So I was kind of surprised that they got, James Gunn's wife and everybody else, in the HQ to be his new team or his support group, right?
Right.
And so this one was kind of like, it took me by surprise, right? The first 3 episodes, when the opening sequence came up, when in the dark silhouette, the dance sequence, right? That was cool. That set the tone. The tone for the entire, for the first 3 episodes at least. You kind of knew that this was going to be off, and you kind of wonder what you got yourself into.
Off in a good way. Like everybody was like, WTF, right? What the fuck's going on here? Like, what's
exactly. And thereafter, everybody who watched the series all wanted to taste it.
That was the question they threw out right after the cold open. First,
and we
intro
did.
sequence hit, and they're like, "You want to taste it?" We're like, "Yeah,
sure,
yeah." Looks about right.
I can go for a taste.
I mean, it looks weird, but I'm sure it's gonna taste good. So we're gonna go for it.
Yeah, but I was surprised also with a what's that? Robert Patrick.
Robert Patrick, of course. Like his.
We'll get into him later.
Yeah. So I mean, you were talking about the rest of the team and like Gunn's partner, Jennifer Holland, right, who plays Amelia Harcourt. Sounds like hardcore. Everybody was talking about is her nickname Hardcore? Because she does fit like a hardcore chick. They were in the Suicide Squad. Her and Steve Agee's economist, It's amazing, by the way, as well. They were in the movie, and they sort of like took a stand against Amanda Waller. But there was another African American lady, right? This black lady who hit Amanda Waller.
Yeah.
But she got arrested, and then she didn't appear in the show. But which is kind of sad because she was the hero, right? She was the one who took out Amanda, and we just saw her like getting arrested, and that was it. But I would say the cast. I want to talk a bit about the cast. You mentioned Robert Patrick, who plays Cena's dad,
White Dragon.
The White Dragon, a character that I have no idea about it. Are you familiar with it, or you heard of him before? You're like the encyclopedia for comics.
I know,
so I gotta check with you.
Like I said, this is like the G-list guys.
Like super deep cuts, right? It's like
man. D and E, I know. Okay. Some of the Celestial, okay. Weird Eternals, fine. And you get stuff like White Dragon. I mean, he wasn't really his dad in the comics. Because I remember Peacemaker's dad in the comics. He was let's see, a Nazi Walker, guy, right? Not a Nazi guy, right?
He's a Nazi guy
in World War II. Nazi guy. So White Dragon's like a totally different character, but I know he did exist in the books.
Right.
I just didn't know whose rogues gallery that he belonged to and stuff like that. But that was cool. That was cool.
They did tweak a bit, right? And talking about the cast, I think this is the breakout character for me as well. It's Vigilante, Adrian Chase, played wonderfully by Freddie Stroma. I saw after the first 3 episodes, I went and watched the interviews, and I saw this guy interviewing this dude, this like, posh looking British guy.
This British guy, right?
Really like, it's like smart looking, good looking. And he was like very posh, like, no, I was like, blah, blah. I was like, hold on a second. Yes, Vigilante. Oh my God. He's such a great actor. I was completely blown away by his performance, man. I think he might be my favorite character from the series itself. Vigilante, I heard that he's kind of different. Again, I'm not familiar. These are, like you mentioned, H, whatever kind of like superheroes. Are you familiar with Vigilante?
Vigilante, yes. He was also, I think, in the mid 80s.
Mid 80s.
Like the street level.
I heard that it's different, like how they portrayed him in the series, because he was more like a Punisher ripoff, right?
He was in the books. This one was almost like, I think someone compared him to Deadpool once, but to a certain extent, where he's a little bit off tangent. He just wants to be loved, and he's got this like brotherly friendship thing going on with Peacemaker.
Oh, so they are actually friends in their comics as well.
No, and I was referring to the show.
The show itself. Okay. I thought you were talking about like in the comics.
So it's a different total characterization. Same name, very similar costume, same skills, but being portrayed by, I forgot his name. The British
Freddie Stroma.
Like Freddie Stroma.
Freddie Stroma. Apparently he was in I'm not familiar with his work as well, but like, I heard he was in was it Harry Potter? He's one of the side characters in Harry Potter. I mean, all British actors and actresses, they've made appearances in the Harry Potter series. So.
In one way, one form or another.
One form or the other. So yeah.
He was in the rom-com before. This guy, one of the Hollywood rom-coms, and he was like the European boyfriend.
The European, but he's really good. I was like, again, I'm not familiar with him, so I thought like, it's an American dude, right? He got that accent down. I was like,
the accent's really down. So you really thought that he would be born and bred, right?
Born and bred.
And then you start watching the interviews, and
it's like completely different person.
Well done.
Wow. So he's the MVP for me, and I really love the character, the way Gunn wrote it. I mean, this is actually James Gunn's like creating this version of the character. I think it was it episode 3 where I think that could be my favorite scene, where he tried to get arrested to get into jail, where he was slowly walking over amongst the cops sitting down eating lunch. He was just like trying to grab the garbage can and threw it at the window.
that
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 scene is
was that
like
was a bit of
crazy.
that was a moment. That was a bit of a writer's moment, I would say.
I love it.
Right,
And
where you don't really have to put in too much effort, and you get across what this guy is like, what he's
yeah,
about, what how his mind might work.
it works, right?
Right, yeah, might work in a situation like that. So,
It's so good.
well, he did get the job done.
And I mean, he was pretty badass when he actually confronted like Augie, Robert Patrick's character, and the Nazi gang in the jail as well. He was just like walking badass. I thought he was gonna get his ass kicked because
He actually
unexpected
has
stuff. I thought it was
skills in the
but
movie,
dude got
in the show.
skills. He was
Yeah,
really
yeah.
good. I actually read a comment in one of the reviews. This guy said it very like, perhaps Vigilante is actually a metahuman. He's just too dumb to know it because the way he recovers from these injuries, like got a
Right.
bomb blast and everything,
Yeah. The
they
bullets
actually
shot and all that.
showed it, like saying like he got injured pretty bad. And in the final episode, he was like, "No, I just need a nap," and then he was pretty fine after that. Maybe he is a metahuman. He got superpowers. He's just too dumb to know. He thinks that like, oh, this is
just
normal.
like a healing factor for him.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, like, but he thinks that this is normal for everybody. That you take a nap and you feel better.
Yeah.
I
he
love
might
that
be onto-
idea.
he
Maybe,
might be onto something.
yeah, maybe they can explore that in the like season 2. And any other character that you like? What about your favorite? Like any other, a standout cast member or character?
I really like the what's that? What's that guy? Vigilante is a close one. The
Economist?
Murn.
Oh, Murn.
Murn,
Interesting.
actually.
Okay.
Murn.
You like Murn?
Yeah. So there seems to be this trend. I don't know if we want to cut this out, but there seems to be this trend of like,
I'm gonna keep this in.
yeah, strong black men in charge.
Ooh,
right?
interesting.
You look at
Okay.
you look at Reacher. You got the chief detective.
I mean, the new Reacher. I haven't seen it yet.
New Reacher, yeah.
Okay.
The one with Smallville's Aquaman.
Ah.
We'll get into a bit of that later
Okay.
as well. Foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing. Like it's a little.
Okay,
Okay, continue.
Murn, yeah. So Murn was cool because that was a twist no one ever saw coming. You thought he would be this typical, leader character, offshoot, leading Amanda Waller's secret little team.
Right.
Just some guy trying to keep everybody in check.
Right.
So there was that twist, showing that he was a butterfly. And I think that, and then he was actually in the rebel of the butterfly group, right? Which added an additional layer because, to be honest, and I'm letting this go a little bit early, but I really wasn't too impressed with the ending. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So
interesting.
So that's something I wasn't overwhelmed by it. Just whelmed. Get the reference.
Just whelmed, ladies and gentlemen.
Nobody's
just whelmed.
Everybody's overwhelmed, underwhelmed. Nobody's just whelmed. Robin Young Justice. But
I love it.
Anyway, so that was that for the ending. We can talk about that in a bit too.
Why was Murn your favorite? Like, what made him like stand out apart from like Vigilante? I think we agree that he's like the standout, the MVP. But why did Murn? For me personally, Murn was just like okay. I don't hate. There isn't like a casting choice that I did not like. I think everybody was amazing in this show. But Murn was more of like he never stood out for me. Why did he stand out for you?
Okay, if you look at some of the early episodes, or at least when he first kind of like got the team together or introduced the team, it's how he actually was a foil almost for Cena and the other characters when they bounce their lines off him.
Right.
And the way he deflects their lines. That's what I kind of like about that. So if you go back and check out, when he's giving the briefings, when he's being like the straight guy to whatever rubbish that they're coming out with.
I get it.
He's like almost bulletproof, but it gets to him. He doesn't really show it, and he's great to play off. I think for the straight man,
Right. So
straight
straight man,
comedy.
is he? Are you like assuming his sexual preferences?
Let's not get into that. Let's not get into that, shall we?
I also thought that Jennifer Holland as Amelia Harcourt was sort of like the straight base as well. Like she has to play it straight, and she was just the one. She got a lot of good singers, especially in the last episode. Like
she did.
Schwarzenegger. Peacemaker Schwarzenegger. I don't know. It's corny and cheesy, but it worked. I think we can talk about the humor of the show where James Gunn is a funny guy. We all know that. But the way he mixed seriousness and the gore and the violence and the humor, this series is just, all came together perfectly. I think it works so well. The jokes, even the juvenile and like ridiculous toilet humor jokes, which I'm not a big fan of, worked for me here, man. And like, do you have like a favorite line or like favorite kind of like joke sequence that you like from the series?
Well, definitely is the one where what's it when they were having that briefing again, and what was that? The episode.
Oh, is that the one where Cena went on like it could be?
Yeah, he just went on. It's like it could be anybody. It could be Mario. It could be Luigi. It could be the Koopas. That one went on, and that showed. No, it's almost total 100% improv. I would say. Yeah, he just went all out. I think that whole barrage of verbal diarrhea just totally worked. Yeah.
Did you see the post-credit one for that episode?
Yeah.
When he was like, Peter Stroma, James Gunn, and then Stephen Gee's Conomus was like, the last two things aren't even things. Those last two names aren't even things.
I think he threw in Ice-T as well, and Ice-T caught that, and I think he retweeted that like, thanks for framing me, James Gunn.
Oh my god, it's amazing. It's so good. And speaking of so good, another thing that we have to mention is the music. The soundtrack really makes the series as well. James Gunn, crazy bastard. 80s hair metal, glam metal, but stuff that most of us, like some of us, we don't know, because it's not just from the 80s, right? He found bands like European bands or like American bands from the 2000s and even to 2010s as well. Like bands like Wigwam, the Las Vegas. I wasn't like familiar with it. He knows these things, and he picks the right songs for the sequences. It's just crazy. Let's start with the opening sequence. Wigwam's "Do You Want to Taste It?" Like you mentioned, right? It set the tone. I was like,
it's like a mise-en-scène thing already.
And like,
but that's how he kind of works also, because we follow him on the socials. You can see he's taking pictures, like the notes that he's taking, like the music that he's choosing. Even when he did it for Guardians, he seems to always choose the music first to fit the scenes. I mean, it seems to be part of the process. So he does spend a lot of time researching and finding out.
He made that mark with the first Guardians, right? Where we were like, oh my God, the soundtrack actually really works. And it is part of the movie. We can't take out the soundtrack, fill it in with like other songs. It won't work anymore, right? So it's it's a big piece of the puzzle. And the way Gunn worked, I'm so grateful. And he made a playlist, like official playlist on Spotify. And I've been listening to that playlist like over and over. There are some bands which I've like familiar with, like, Faster Pussycat, Firehouse, and all that. I was like, so after the third episode, I mentioned it to you guys, and like I wrote it on my socials as well, saying like, oh my God, there's the Faster Pussycat CD. I love the song House of Pain growing up. And it was like a very sad song about like daddy issues and all that. I was like, holy crap, he should totally use this song.
You were waiting for that to show up. It did.
I was like, oh my God. And not only that, it was a montage that was so powerful that the song that I was listening to when I was a kid hit me in a very different and more meaningful way. It was the scene where he was like stabbing the first dude. His dad was like corrupting him. Wow, man. I got like goosebumps watching. Even now talking about it, guy, reliving the goosebumps. It's so good.
You should.
I can't stop talking about the music, man. The ending montage as well. How did you find it? The song is actually Apologized by the Las Vegas. Again, a band that I'm not familiar with, but now
Neither
I'm
was I.
listening to their stuff. But there are other bands that we got to discover as well, like the Reckless Love that he has, and there was Tiger Tales, Love
Yeah.
Bomb. It's like at the end of the first episode. So good. So good. Um, any other part of the
Yeah.
series that makes it like work for you? We've spoken about the cast, we've spoken about the
Mm,
music. Anything else that you want to
mm.
mention about the show?
Well, just to add into the music bit, I think I wasn't expecting it to be a running theme throughout the entire
Right.
series. I thought it was just like, to fit the scene or
Mm.
whatever the action is going on, right? But I mean, I'm glad that it wasn't just something that a genre that he picked and decided to run with it, because he had that scene when Peacemaker and his brother were kids and they were listening to the Walkman, and that's where
Right.
the love came in, and having that it's never the wrong time to rock out moment. So that made sense, and I
Yeah,
guess
good
it kind of like
observation.
it fed back to his childhood days, his growing up
So
days, who he
upbringing,
is.
right?
Yeah.
Makes him
So
like who he is.
correct, and going back again, like what James does is that he seems to have everyone build up around the main character. That's why you as a writer or filmmaker director, you want your audience to care about your hero, right? So everything has to link back. The music, the stuff he wears, the stuff he does, the stuff he eats, the people he's around with, how he treats them, it's all feeding back into the Peacemaker character. So
wow, you're going
that was
deep
cool.
with this.
yeah, I know. But that was kind of like I was thinking about it, especially for the finale, and we can talk about that again later. It's like the whole accumulation of whatever that has come before or what that happened during episodes 1 to 6 or 7.
7, yeah.
Yeah. So it's really like you observe all the things that he does, how he treats his home. It ties back to how he was growing up.
And
he never really changed it. Yeah. So it's really that world that that James and the writer team they crafted around the character, which makes it so full. People really like it. They really care about the character that most fans probably don't know anything about.
I mean, and it's all James as well, right? He wrote, he mentioned that in that interview that he wrote all 8 episodes, and he said that nothing much changed from that initial draft. He took it to DC, and then they were all like, "Yeah, sure." So within a year and a half, it's all out, and he made it like, this is like crazy good, dude. It's
so he took that line, actually, like you probably read, you can read it off wiki. He took that line of the Rick Flag, the fight with Rick Flag in the Suicide Squad. It's like, Peacemaker, what a joke.
What a joke, right?
And that was it. That was a line that inspired him, and he has said so many times in so many interviews that he wanted to make a douchey of Captain America, which you probably have seen that with the shield word in the finale.
The finale, right?
And that scene, that kind of like, for me, I like that bit because it kind of delivered on that promise. And when the three of them came in, like Hardcore and Vigilante, it's like, oh, that's this Captain America, Bucky, and Sharon Carter. if I'm forced to
trying
draw
to compare
parallels,
like Marvel and DC.
Yeah, but if I'm trying to draw parallels here,
right,
based on what he said, and he's been marketing it as such, like douchey Captain America all the way.
Douchey Captain
and
America.
Then right at the end, it happens. So I was pretty glad out of the entire finale episode. That was one of the moments I was pretty glad that I did see. It might be something that, typically that's what they're gonna do, right? They're walking down the field. They're gonna shoot some aliens. They're gonna go kill the cow.
The cow. So
okay, cow. Dishonor your cow.
Yeah, dishonor to your cow. I mean, okay, since we're talking about the finale, can we there are some shortcomings. Let's tackle those. Like, what's your biggest like gripe about the series?
But the series, not episode 7.
That overall, like, for me, it was like in episode 8. That's where my main gripe is. But for you, do you have any?
It is in episode 8. It was kind of slow, right? To be honest, by episode 3, although you kind of got the idea of where this was headed,
Right.
And then 5 and 6 kicked it up. We went deeper into like the characters,
11
the
Street Kids,
supporting cast. Yeah, 11 Street Kids, man. So that was nice, and it was near the end, and you really got to feel that they are a family,
right?
And then episode 8 came in and screwed everything up. I'm not a big fan of episode 8, to be honest.
Okay,
there were bits that I like. Okay, it's kind of like just trying to finish the whole thing up. When I was watching it halfway through Ep 8, I felt that if I watched 7 and 8 in a row, it would make more sense, and I would feel better about it if I watched it in continuity, because it does feel like an extended. It should be a one long sequence by itself.
So it's like episode 7 part 1 and episode 7 part 2, right?
Yeah. So when you watch episode 8, and you kind of like expect it to be like, well, I kind of felt it should have been a little bit more self-contained since it was serialized.
Right.
But if I would have no gripes if I watched 7 to 8 back to back.
Interesting.
So coming to it in on a weekly basis and watching Ep 8 on its own, it just felt that he was just tying up loose ends.
Right.
Yeah. So
it was a short episode as well, right? It's only about like 44 minutes or something like that.
Yeah. And he can't explain why Diebeard dyed his hair. It can't explain why.
Yeah, that was great though. I love that.
It was. It was so funny. It was
so funny. And then he broke his leg. It was that heroic moment where, of course, we haven't spoken about Leota much, but like when Leota was being all like being the person that she's gonna be the badass, you see like Cadamus running and.
Yeah, that bit is like. Me and my wife were watching like, this guy's so useless.
I mean, he did kill a gorilla in the like episode. Was it like 6 or 5?
Yeah, but if you do recall, he stole the way it was supposed to be killed.
I mean, they're all kind of in a way like misfits and some sort of like losers. So it is funny that. Stuff like this happened, like in episode 8, where Eagly was gonna be the hero and then just like flies off with the helmet. It was funny.
I think this goes back to one of the talking points that you had also, right? Like, how does it make it all so together? It's the humor, and you're talking about the violence and stuff like that. I mean, this is stuff that you would expect to see or expect to know happen in situations like that. Obviously, the bird's not going to listen to you and do his own thing. Obviously, the guy who's never been in a firefight will probably trip and break his leg. Yeah. So it's amazing, and it's finding that balance in the story, and it's still like built around the character. If this character was thrown into all these the supporting cast's lives, how does he turn it upside down? How does he affect them? How do they affect him?
Right.
So it's neat. I would say it's neat, but it got a bit too neat at the end.
A little too neat.
Yeah, it's like you explain why he dyed his beard. You explain why Harcourt behaves this way. What happens to her? And then what happens? Oh, and the clincher with the Amanda Wall's daughter. What was her name again?
Leota Adebayo. Adebayo.
Yeah. So all that kind of felt a bit too tied up neatly. And come to think of it right now, if I were to go back on my words, it would probably be making new possibilities for season 2.
Right. I personally didn't have like an issue for episode 8 and like how it ended up. speaking about like Adebayo, like Leota's like story, James Gunn actually mentioned this in the interviews as well. It's actually a kind of like a love story between Peacemaker and Leota in a very like uh platonic way, and I like that playing out because over the course of the series, they were like playing with that friendship, and it's like a genuine platonic friendship. And at the end, when he mentioned like, "Don't tell Vigilante, you're my second BFF after Eagly," I don't know, it worked for me. I think like the ending where in episode 8, when we see sides of the characters that we haven't seen before, like Economist being honest, being like, yes, I am a loser, that's why I do this, and Hardcore finally giving into Peacemaker, being like, he really does. The little tear come down. Like he's been waiting outside her room for like how many days. I think those are nice tie-ups that I don't have a big issue with. The main gripe for me was it got a little preachy at the end about environmental like issues and all that, which I felt it was a little too on the nose when we finally
Which one?
found out
I might
about
have
the
lost it.
butterflies. Like, so again, want to mention Annie Chang as Sophie Song, and also once Gafia. I love her. She was amazing. her, her lines are like, she's really good at humor as well initially, right? Because she was just like a detective dealing with Augie, Robert Patrick's racist, super racist
Right.
guy who was like chopsticks or something like
Yeah,
that, right?
chickadee chopsticks.
And she was like, yeah, fork or no, spoon, right? Like spoon.
Yeah. Why not? Like, why not?
So I really liked her character. And when she turned into Goth, I was like, oh, so she's going to be like, in a way, the main baddie. And she got to kick ass at the end as well. So the part that I had an issue was when she finally tried to convince Cena's character, Peacemaker, to join the butterflies, cause, saying like they're trying to save the world because people can't save themselves with everything going. I was like, okay, it's a little too on the nose for me. But it was only for about a minute for that like little monologue going on, and then Cena was like, activate torpedo, human torpedo,
the human torpedo.
Leona was, ah. So it's safe.
The worst thing was that she was still wearing the helmet. And he didn't care.
Walking around like,
just use her. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, come think of it. I mean, now that you mentioned, yeah, it's kind of preachy. Probably some exec forced it in.
No, I think it's actually. I don't think it's an exact thing. I think it's Gunn being like really passionate about these guys. Because to be honest, right? If you're a decent human being, you do agree with those things. I personally agree with like the message. It's just that the way it was said, it was not super subtle. It was just straight up like looking at the camera, like, see, kids, this is what you should do. I'm like,
okay,
come on, man, come on.
I think it's the voice. I think it's the voice also.
Is it the delivery by any chance?
Yeah, the delivery, the tone, the words. It's the total opposite of who Peacemaker is.
Right.
In a way. And I think partly that's why he killed her. Because he didn't like what he saw.
So what I got from it was like, if he were like, the Peacemaker from the beginning of the series, he would have like joined her because like, oh yeah, I'm gonna save the world. I want to be a hero. But because over the course of the 8 episodes, he has grown as a character, which is like what we want to see with our main characters as well. And he started caring about other people, and he found like he shouldn't be. I think it was with Adebayo when she mentioned that the vow that he took shouldn't be like that, this extreme kind of a vow. He should have more faith in other people and care about them. So I think I like that. I like why he actually chose to shoot the rest of the butterflies. And it was kind of like, again, I'm a fan of John Cena now. I mean, I watched WWE growing up, and like I was never a big fan of Cena as a wrestler. I hated him. I was like, oh, it's always the good guy. He was never, he never turned heel. He always wins the title. He screws over other young wrestlers. But as an actor, and that line when he asked, like, Adebayo was like, did I just kill the human race, or like, like that? Did I just destroy it? I was like, Oh, he was really like in that character moment. It just worked with me, man. He's amazing. That's why I need to have that Peacemaker toy.
Yeah,
I need
still
to
it's
pick it
still
up
it's
from you.
still with me. Yeah.
Okay, so before we wrap up, let's talk about that scene.
What scene?
What scene?
What scene? I have no idea
So
what you're talking about.
when I first saw it, right? Okay, this is my reaction. I was watching with my wife, and it was like, oh my god, no way! And then because they were showing the silhouettes first, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, it's just gonna be that because they don't have the budget and they can't get.
Yeah, the
Oh
stand-ins,
my
right?
god, it's Jason Momoa. I love it. It's
I was like,
amazing.
everyone started fapping under the blankets.
I think
I know you did.
And he was, I like how like Peacemaker was just like scolding them.
Yeah.
Late asshole.
You guys, you late.
And then he said like what we all wanted to hear, like in a live on a live version of like, I don't think anybody has said it in even in cartoons. Did anybody say that in Harley Quinn, the animated series, the R-rated one? About
Say what
Aquaman,
exactly?
Aquaman fucking fish.
I don't know. As a fan, as an Aquaman fan, it felt familiar.
Very familiar.
It felt
I
very
mean,
familiar.
Robot Chicken and everybody
Something
else
that,
is making
you
jokes
know,
about that. Family Guy.
Yeah, something that I cannot relate to.
But I love the fact that Momoa and even DC allowed like Jim Lee, like they allowed that Gunn to address this straight up. They're like, yeah, so this is what they're, and then we have
not a
like,
rumor.
no, I'm so fucking sick of that rumor. The delivery was great, but Momoa is a funny guy as well, and Ezra Miller,
He can be,
they're like,
yeah.
it's not a rumor, and then he
Not a
was like
rumor.
chuckling, and you see like Momoa try to chuckle as well. He's like, nope, I should be angry. And then
Yeah,
fuck you,
he
Barry.
was, and he was like, "Fuck you, Barry."
Fuck you. I love seeing that. It's like, you know, seeing Captain America or like Iron Man really cursing, not from outtakes or in interviews, but on screen.
So-
this is supposedly canon. This works so well. I
It
love that
does, it does.
scene. Where do you think Batman was?
Okay, hang on. I had to say that I kind of saw it coming that the Justice League would show up.
Because they threw in like a little like
yeah, they call Amanda and it's like
yeah.
you're Justice League and all kind of thing. And I was like, oh, maybe they could be in there. And that feeling grew stronger when, like I said, why I didn't really like episode 8 too much was that they started explaining everything, they started tying things up. So stuff that they talked about or the characters had went through at the beginning of the episodes or in episode 7 even were all neatly tied up. So I was like, okay, so if they mentioned Justice League, well, the Justice League showed up, and at that exact moment, there was like a bolt of lightning. So I was like, kind of like, I was excited at the same time. At the same time, I was kind of let down.
Mm.
So I have an analogy here, but I won't say it.
Why?
No, I just won't. I'll just get in trouble.
Now I want to hear it.
Yeah. I'll tell it to you over tea someday.
Okay, over tea it is. So
okay.
If you feel that like, you know, season 1 wrapped up like nicely or a lot of things, what do you think? Because it's official now. It's been renewed for a second season. Where do you think they can go for season 2?
They can really practically go anywhere from here on out.
Where do you think it'll be? Like
where?
What kind of a story? I think because it's sort of like a redemption story for a Peacemaker from being like this asshole to be a more of a kind of a more decent person, even though he's still got a lot of issues. It's not like, you know, wiped clean.
And it's even worse now that he's haunted by his dad.
Which is actually a reference to the comics, right? I read that like in the comics he sees the ghost of the
he sees the ghost,
killed.
which is where the origins of the helmet came in. It was something like the ghosts of the people he killed inhabit his helmet and they talk to him.
So it's in the helmet.
Well, he believes it's in it.
Oh, he believes that it's in the helmet.
Yeah.
Ah, interesting. But I think with the series, like what James Gunn's doing is just like putting Augie in there, his dad. And it was, I think it's going to be interesting because we get to see like Robert Patrick again for season 2. He's going to be around. It's like the Batman
I was
Arkham
excited.
Knight thing.
Yeah, I was excited for Robert Patrick when he showed up, and I'm really really glad he's still around. He's going to be around for season 2.
He's really good at playing that vile character who's super racist, and it's like
be a super asshole.
Oh, wait, before we end up on the scores, let's do some like quick takes on those little smaller things like Judo Master. Like
Judo Master, smaller takes. Oh, so bad.
Or
yeah, what's with the corn chips or the chips?
He needs energy. It seems like he needs energy. He's just eating that so that he can be like, fast and like powerful. That's what I'm getting from the snacking.
I eat chips every day.
Maybe that's why you look like this.
Maybe that's why I'm fast.
Maybe. Oh, wait, hold on.
Oh no.
Oh no. Maybe you're born with it.
3 minutes.
Oh, that's a record.
Hell. Stay away from chips, kids.
Okay, so let's talk about scores. How much would you rate it out of like 5 or 10? We don't have like a proper scoring system, but like I just want to know how much would you rate it?
I'll give it a solid 7 because that's where I think the good stuff ended.
7?
Episode 7.
What?
Yeah.
What? Dude, what? I opened up the podcast saying like this is like arguably the greatest like superhero series ever, and you're giving us a 7. Have you seen our other episodes where we give like Book of Boba Fett a 7 and a 7.5?
Why is Boba Fett 7 and a 7.5? Boba Fett should be like 8.
What, you like it better than Peacemaker?
Yeah, I like it better because Mandalorian showed up. If not, it would be a 6. Okay, but anyway, I digress. So I think Peacemaker is a solid 7 because I didn't like the way episode 8 ended. Like I said, if I watched it back to back, it would probably be a 7.7 or an 8 even. But it's the ending which didn't really sit well with me as a finale episode to the season. It just fell. But really, episode 1 to 7 is like full on solid.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was kind of like the clincher for me at the end. It's like, sure, there are possibilities. Sure, they can go anywhere from here. You've kind of like tied up several character arcs. You've exposed the Suicide Squad in the main DCEU canon to the real world, to the public. He's got issues with his dad now, even more so.
More so.
Even more so. But then, like all the things that we talked about, being just a little bit too preachy, a little bit too neat at the end. It just didn't I didn't come out of it like, wow, that was a show.
Interesting, because you're not very generous with your scoring. I
know.
Personally, for me, this is a 9 because it is 9 for me. I don't have like major issues with all the episodes, apart from that the finale being a little preachy for about a minute. The rest, I really do love the ending montages that he used like in a couple of episodes, especially in episode 8 as well. The music choice, everything worked well. Characterization, oh my god, and then the Goth butterfly still hanging around Peacemaker. It's just like so heartwarming. I agree with you that episode 8 did not live up to expectations because it's like, Gunn was talking about like he didn't even let the media watch episode 8.
Yeah.
They had to wait for like with all plebs like us to find out how it ended. I think he was just holding it out for that scene, right?
Yeah.
But as a complete series compared to other superhero series like Disney Plus stuff, Loki, you got like WandaVision, what else like we were talking about, even like Star Wars stuff, Boba Fett. This one is like a breath of like fresh air. it was so well made, and it's actually like an artist's like interpretation without any major studio influence. That's how I feel.
Mhm.
This is like Gunn's story, the way he's telling it. I can't think of another series that I was really into, especially a superhero series, comparable to this. I, maybe the first Punisher, like Netflix Punisher series, but that was
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
draggy as well. Jessica Jones season one. I think that's
Yeah.
still like one of my top superhero series. But I don't know, man. Peacemaker might be at the top spot, or at least in the top
Yeah.
three for me. I
I
really
think
like it.
that's. I
I
think
love
also
it.
now that you mentioned like Jessica Jones and stuff, it's like our very first talking point, right? The how well acquainted the public
Right.
is
With
with the
the character.
character.
Uh-huh.
So when we have all these like obscure characters coming out right now to fill the universe occupied by Iron Man and Superman and Batman, what have you, right? No, it fills out that world that they live in. Um, and as audiences, we don't come into it with any like preconceptions,
Right.
right? So we're kind of, I know you and I are kind of worried about Robert Pattinson and Batman. See, they put that fear in us, really,
The
which
fear is
works because he's Batman. So, people that we don't know, Guardians of the Galaxy, Peacemaker, Vigilante, even sometimes, because he did appear in Arrow before.
ah,
We have, yeah, different actor, totally different
okay.
characterization. Yeah, don't worry about it. I think we get to enjoy the stories a little bit more instead of like this trying to decide like in our minds like this is how Batman should be like, and what this director or writer has done with him. No, I hate it. So I guess right now that's why we have characters like Kate Bishop and stuff like that. We are introduced to all new, almost in the public eye, non-established characters, although they have been around for like probably about almost a decade already, right?
Kate Bishop. Don't get me started on
Don't
Hawkeye.
even
I was
deal with
disappointed
the
with that
bow.
series. I was
Yeah.
disappointed with that series. I had like high hopes, like a lot of high hopes for that one. So let's not talk about that. All right.
Yeah.
So
Talk about that.
for Peacemaker, I would say so. 7.5 or 7?
Fine, you talk me into it. I'll give it a 7.5. But I mean, on the whole, it was great. It was great. It was good. I like the characters. I like the music. I kind of like okay the story, but at the end it was just giant CG monster aliens
Poor
save the
cow.
environment.
Poor
Yeah,
cow.
yeah.
Yeah, I do expect the
Dishonoring your
finale
cow.
to be a lot more bonkers, but
Yeah, because he didn't allow the media to watch it.
yeah, I think again, like he was
So
holding out for that scene. The
yeah, so that kind of like drove my expectations up, I guess, up a couple of notches. Even if the
right.
Justice League weren't going to show up in there, it's like you thought it'd be like balls out, but
Balls out.
they're just running down the field, right? Yeah,
Yeah, the only badass, I mean, big battle was when the three of them took on
yeah,
the whole heart.
yeah. I mean, as commercial as it sounds, you know,
It's
yeah,
but I am really grateful that like Gunn and the whole team created this out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like we weren't
Mm.
we didn't know that we needed this. But I really want season 2 now. So I'm totally looking forward to that. And
For
and
sure.
yeah, so I also feel that not enough people, especially here in Southeast Asia, the Asians. I asked around my friends. They said like they saw the first episode, they kind of liked it, but they never finished it. So I'm like, guys, you have to. I think this is again one of the best superheroes, like TV series ever for me. So you guys better check it out if you haven't seen it yet. It's all 8 episodes are now out on HBO Max. Or you can find certain ways to enjoy enjoy the episodes as well, like get your friends HBO account, log in and watch.
Are those friends you spoke to casuals?
They're filthy. They're filthy.
Oh, I see.
But yes, I think that's the end of the podcast. Thank you so much again, Jared, for joining us here on
Awesome. Thanks, man.
SupCast. Man, we're definitely going to have you back on again for more stuff. If you
All
can,
right, cool.
you can dig it. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. This is Adam
All right.
Tom, also known as Tuna, signing off. See you guys.
All right.
Bye.
Yeah. Peace.
Peacemaker. We're gonna go now. Goodbye.
Bye.
Sup, nerd.